The person you constantly think about feels close to your heart because the connection did not begin with them alone. It began within you. Long before words were exchanged or meanings were clarified, your mind recognized something familiar in them. That familiarity is not coincidence but resonance. When someone reflects emotions you have carried silently, hope, sensitivity, depth, or even loneliness, the mind attaches strongly. You feel understood without explanation and valued without proof. This is why you sense that they care, even in silence. The feeling is not imagined, but it is incomplete. Much of what you attribute to them is shaped by your inner world. You project understanding, affection, and emotional safety onto them because those qualities are deeply needed within you. The bond feels intense because it activates unresolved parts of your identity. You are not just drawn to who they are, you are drawn to what awakens inside you when you think of them. This creates emotional closeness without physical or expressive intimacy, which feels powerful but also confusing. You wait, analyze, and interpret distance as mystery, unaware that the connection is already functioning on a psychological level rather than a relational one. The real reason for the distance is not lack of love, timing, or external obstacles. It is inner resistance. Being close to this person would require emotional honesty, not only with them, but with yourself. Their presence challenges the image you hold of who you are and who you believe you must be. Nearness would force you to confront vulnerability, fear of rejection, and the possibility of change. Distance becomes a form of protection. As long as the connection remains unspoken, it remains safe, ideal, and uncontested by reality. The mind preserves the bond by keeping it unresolved. This is the shock. The distance exists because the connection is meaningful, not because it is weak. The psyche delays closeness until you are ready to integrate what this person represents within you. They are not meant only to be loved, they are meant to reveal something essential about your emotional nature. When that lesson is understood, the distance either dissolves naturally or loses its power over you. The purpose of the connection is fulfilled not when you possess the person, but when you understand yourself more clearly through them. You often believe the strongest proof of a connection is how frequently someone appears in your thoughts. Their name rises in your mind without effort. Their expressions replay in quiet moments, and even ordinary situations remind you of them. It feels as if your mind is choosing them, yet something deeper is happening. The psyche holds an inner image of companionship, a silent expectation formed by past emotional experiences. When a person resembles that inner image, your attention gathers around them with unusual intensity. You begin noticing details you would ignore in others, and their smallest actions seem meaningful. Because of this, you interpret your constant thinking as evidence that they must feel the same. However, what you experience is not only attraction, but recognition. They resemble a figure your mind was prepared to meet long before you encountered them. The closeness you sense is partly real and partly symbolic. Your emotions grow strong even with little interaction because the relationship is being lived internally. The mind completes conversations, imagines understanding, and softens their flaws. In this way, you are not simply relating to the person's behavior but to the emotional meaning they carry within your inner life. Distance appears painful because reality cannot fully match the clarity of imagination. When you imagine them, they respond with patience and warmth. When you meet them in reality, they remain human, uncertain, and limited. This difference creates confusion. You wonder why their actions feel inconsistent with what you sense emotionally. The truth is that the imagined figure never needed to struggle with misunderstanding, timing, or fear, but the real person does. You hold an inner certainty while they experience ordinary hesitation. The mind then interprets this gap as mysterious distance rather than recognizing it as the difference between image and individuality. You wait for them to behave according to the emotional role your psyche assigned to them. Yet they are living their own inner story, not the one you created. The shock is not that they do not care. It is that your mind gave them a psychological role they never consciously accepted. When you understand this, the distance becomes clearer. You are not losing a bond, you are separating a real person from a powerful inner symbol. Only after this separation can genuine closeness or peaceful release finally become possible. Sometimes what holds you to a person is not what they have done for you, but what they have made you feel about yourself. In their presence, you become more aware, more alive, and more attentive to your own thoughts. You notice your reactions carefully, rehearse what you might say, and reflect on how you appear in their eyes. This heightened awareness is not merely nervousness, it is the psyche responding to a meaningful encounter. The mind senses that this individual touches a part of your identity that is still forming. Because of this, you begin to idealize them. You focus on their strengths and soften their ordinary qualities. You interpret their attention as deep understanding and their silence as hidden emotion. The person becomes a container for your expectations of emotional recognition. You feel that they see you in a special way, and that belief strengthens your attachment. Yet much of what you perceive is shaped by your own desire to be understood. You are not only responding to who they are, but to who you become when you think of them. The affection feels certain because it connects to your need for affirmation, making the inner experience richer than the shared reality. The distance grows when the inner certainty meets external uncertainty. You expect emotional clarity because your feelings are clear, but the other person moves naturally, without awareness of the meaning you have attached to them. They respond according to their circumstances, not according to your inner narrative. This difference does not mean absence of care, it means difference of awareness. You read significance into pauses, timing, and small gestures, while they simply live their life. The shock comes when you realize the connection has been developing primarily within you. Your psyche used this person as a mirror to reveal your longing for validation and emotional acknowledgement. The hesitation you experience is partly your own fear that reality may not support the emotional structure you built internally. So you remain suspended between hope and restraint. The lesson hidden here is quiet but important. The bond was never only about gaining their affection, but about discovering your own emotional depth. When you recognize this, the distance becomes less like rejection and more like guidance, directing you toward self-understanding rather than dependence. There are moments when you feel the person understands you without conversation. You sense a quiet harmony in the way they speak, move, or even remain silent. This feeling convinces you that a deeper bond exists beyond ordinary interaction. Yet this sense of understanding often begins inside your own perception. The mind naturally searches for patterns that confirm emotional meaning. When you long for connection, you begin to notice coincidences, similarities, and shared reactions with greater intensity. Their small gestures appear intentional, and their brief attention feels significant. Gradually, you create a narrative in which both of you are emotionally aligned. This does not mean your feeling is false, but it is shaped by interpretation. You are responding to what they represent psychologically, rather than only to what they express openly. The mind uses them as a symbol of acceptance, a figure that carries reassurance. Because of this, your attachment deepens even without clear communication. The closeness you experience lies mainly in perception. It feels real because your emotional world is engaged, yet it has not been tested through shared vulnerability, honest conversation, and mutual effort. Distance enters when reality does not follow the script your mind created. The person continues their life in simple and natural ways, while you interpret their actions through emotional expectation. You wait for signs that confirm the connection you feel, but their behavior remains ordinary. This creates confusion because internally you feel certainty. The shock is that the distance is not caused by them withdrawing. It is caused by the difference between symbolic meaning and actual relationship. Your psyche filled silence with intention and filled neutrality with affection. You did not only care for the person, you cared for the emotional relief their image gave you. To move closer would require clear communication, and clear communication risks dissolving the symbolic comfort. So part of you unconsciously maintains the gap. You remain attached while avoiding confrontation with reality. The lesson hidden here is gentle. You are being guided to build inner security rather than seek it only through another. When you begin expressing your truth honestly, the distance either becomes a real relationship or peacefully fades, but in both cases, you gain clarity and emotional maturity. At times you wonder why this one person occupies your thoughts more than those who are actually present in your daily life. You may speak with others more often, yet they do not reach the same emotional depth. This happens because the mind is not guided only by interaction, but by meaning. When someone awakens a feeling that has long been quiet inside you, your attention settles on them. They become connected to hope, possibility, and a sense of being emotionally recognized. You begin to associate them with a version of yourself that feels more open and genuine. In your thoughts, you speak more freely, feel less guarded, and imagine being understood without effort. Gradually, the person becomes tied to your inner growth. You are not only attached to who they are, but to who you feel you could become around them. Because of this, you protect the idea of the connection carefully. You revisit memories, analyze conversations, and search for reassurance in small details. The attachment strengthens even if the relationship itself has not fully formed. The bond continues internally, sustained by imagination and emotional significance rather than by shared experiences. The distance persists because real closeness would test the image you have preserved. A living relationship requires clarity, patience, and acceptance of imperfections, yet the inner image remains harmonious and certain. Without realizing it, you hesitate to move forward because reality could reshape what you hold dear. The mind prefers meaningful longing over possible disappointment. This does not mean you wish to stay apart, but part of you fears losing the emotional comfort the idea provides. The shocking truth is that the distance protects not the relationship, but the emotional certainty you have built around it. You are guarding a feeling of hope and emotional safety. When you understand this, you see that the connection has already served a purpose. It revealed your desire for authenticity and emotional expression. Whether the person eventually becomes close to you or remains part of your memories, the real change occurs within. You learn that the strongest pull you felt was guiding you toward your own emotional openness, encouraging you to live with the same honesty and reality that you allowed only in imagination. You may notice that your emotions toward this person appear calm on the surface yet deep underneath. You are not always expressive around them, sometimes even distant, yet internally your thoughts return to them repeatedly. This contradiction often confuses you. If the feeling is real, why does your behavior hesitate? The answer lies in an inner conflict. One part of you moves toward connection because it senses emotional meaning. Another part holds back because closeness would require vulnerability. When someone becomes important to your inner life, their opinion gains weight. Their acceptance begins to matter more than you expected. The psyche responds by becoming cautious. You choose careful words, delay honest expression, and protect yourself from possible misunderstanding. From outside, it looks like indifference, but inside it is awareness. You feel the connection strongly, yet you also sense the risk of being seen fully. The person awakens sincerity in you, and sincerity feels both inviting and unsettling. Therefore, you remain near emotionally, but distant behaviorally. The attachment grows in silence because silence feels safer than exposure. The real reason distance continues is not because emotion is missing, but because emotion is significant. When a bond feels ordinary, people act freely. When it feels important, they become careful. You fear that revealing your thoughts could change the atmosphere between you. You imagine that speaking honestly might disturb the natural flow, so you wait for certainty before acting. Yet certainty never arrives, because certainty belongs to imagination, not to life. The shock is that both closeness and distance are being shaped by your own protection. You are guarding yourself from disappointment, while also guarding the connection from reality. The mind maintains emotional attachment while postponing real interaction. Over time, the connection begins living almost entirely in thought. The lesson hidden here is simple but powerful. The distance is sustained by caution, not by fate. When you allow yourself to speak naturally and accept the possibility of imperfection, the emotional tension eases. Either the relationship becomes real and human, or it gently releases its hold on your mind. In both outcomes, you gain peace because you step out of silent attachment and into conscious experience. You may feel that the connection with this person carries a strange familiarity, as if you knew them before truly knowing them. Their expressions seem recognizable, their presence calming, and their absence noticeable beyond reason. This feeling creates the belief that the bond must hold a special meaning. Yet the mind often recognizes emotional patterns rather than individuals. When someone resembles the emotional atmosphere you once needed, support, reassurance, or gentle attention, the psyche responds with immediate attachment. You interpret this recognition as a deep connection between two people, but it is also a meeting between the present and your inner past. The person becomes associated with comfort and understanding you have been seeking for a long time. Because of this, your mind gives their actions greater importance. You reflect on their words carefully and remember small details vividly. The bond strengthens even if shared moments are few. What feels like destiny is often the psyche responding to emotional familiarity. You are not only meeting them, you are meeting an old feeling returning in a new form. This is why the attachment grows quietly and powerfully within you. The distance remains because the connection is partly internal. The other person lives their life with ordinary awareness, while your mind holds deeper emotional meaning. You expect them to sense what you feel without direct expression. When they do not act according to your silent expectations, confusion appears. You wonder why someone who feels so close can remain practically far. The shock is that your feelings developed through interpretation more than communication. You built emotional closeness through reflection, memory, and imagination, while they experienced only the moments that truly occurred. The gap is not created by rejection, but by unspoken understanding. You waited for them to recognize what was never clearly shown. The lesson hidden here is gentle. A connection becomes real only when it is shared openly. When you express yourself honestly, two possibilities arise. Either the relationship grows through mutual awareness, or the illusion dissolves. In both cases, the distance loses its mystery, and you regain emotional clarity because you stop living the relationship only inside your thoughts and allow it to exist in reality. There comes a moment when you begin to realize that your attachment to this person is not only about affection, but about meaning. You notice how your thoughts return to them during reflection, not only during loneliness. They appear in your mind when you question your direction, your identity, and your emotional life. This reveals something important. The person has become connected to your inner search for understanding. They represent a possibility of being recognized and accepted without effort. Because of this, you treat the connection with unusual care. You replay memories, protect small interactions, and avoid actions that might disturb the emotional image you hold. The bond continues to grow internally even when outward movement is minimal. You are not simply waiting for them, you are preserving a feeling that gives you comfort and hope. The closeness you feel is genuine in your inner world, but it has not fully entered shared reality. Your mind keeps the connection alive because it supports a deeper need for emotional clarity and self-awareness. The real reason for the distance becomes clear when you look honestly at your hesitation. Moving closer would require you to act without guarantees. You would need to express yourself without knowing the outcome. Yet the mind prefers certainty, and imagination provides it easily. In imagination, they understand, respond gently, and never disrupt the emotional harmony you have formed. Reality cannot promise this, so part of you maintains silence while another part continues attachment. The distance therefore survives not through rejection, but through preservation. You are protecting an inner experience that feels meaningful. The shock is that the connection's purpose may not be possession, but awakening. Through them, you discovered sensitivity, reflection, and emotional depth that had remained quiet. Whether they become part of your daily life or remain part of your memory, they already changed your awareness. When you accept this, the distance loses its weight. You understand that the value of the connection was not only in being together, but in revealing your own emotional truth and encouraging you to live more honestly beyond imagination. Sometimes the person you hold in your mind seems closer than anyone in your immediate life. You replay imagined conversations, anticipate their reactions, and feel an emotional resonance even without frequent contact. This happens because the mind constructs an inner narrative that magnifies meaning. When someone evokes emotions tied to longing, hope, or recognition, your inner world begins to attach significance beyond ordinary interactions. You notice small gestures, interpret silences, and assign intentionality to moments that might otherwise pass unnoticed. In this way, the connection feels intimate, even if externally it is limited. You may believe that their care or love is what sustains this closeness, but in truth, much of the attachment is maintained by your own perception. Your mind interprets events to preserve emotional harmony, filling gaps with understanding and projecting warmth where reality is neutral. The intensity arises because the person reflects unspoken desires and unresolved emotions within you. You are drawn not only to who they are, but to the psychological significance they carry, creating a bond that exists partly in imagination and partly in experience. The distance you feel is often startling because it seems contrary to the strength of your emotions. You may think timing, circumstance, or lack of reciprocation is the cause. Yet the real reason is subtler and originates within yourself. Closeness requires honesty, vulnerability, and engagement with feelings you may not be fully ready to express. The mind fears exposing its depth, so it preserves the connection internally while maintaining physical or emotional distance. You interpret silence, hesitation, or ordinary behavior as signs of uncertainty, not realizing that these are natural human patterns, not barriers. The shocking truth is that the distance exists because your psyche is protecting both the connection and your inner emotional state. The person serves as a mirror, revealing parts of yourself, longing, hope, sensitivity that demand attention. The attachment continues because it is meaningful internally, regardless of external movement. Understanding this shifts perception. The distance is not a punishment or a lack of love, but a reflection of inner preparation. The connection's purpose extends beyond union. It is an invitation to self-awareness and emotional growth. When you see this, the question changes from "Why are we apart?" to "What am I learning about myself through this bond?" The emotional intensity was never only about them, it was also about awakening your own consciousness. In this realization, distance transforms from frustration into insight, guiding you toward clarity, self-understanding, and the ability to engage more fully with life and relationships.